Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein laying out what is specifically in and not in the new indictment against Russians earlier today. Let's take a listen.
There's no allegation in the indictment of any effect on the outcome of the election. Again, there's no allegation in this indictment that any American had any knowledge.
There's also no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. But despite this, Democrat House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi had her own take on the charges, saying, quote, the special counsel's indictments make absolutely clear that the Russians perpetrated a strategic effort to undermine and influence the 2016 presidential election to support the campaign of Donald Trump. These latest indictments build on multiple guilty pleas and indictments of several Trump campaign officials, demonstrating the gravity of the Trump-Russia scandal. Joining me now, former Deputy Chief of Staff to George W. Bush, Karl Rove. Karl, no evidence of Trump campaign collusion with the Kremlin, despite what Nancy Pelosi says. And the president is tweeting out this activity began in 2014, way before he ran. What's your thought?
Well, I think Nancy Pelosi was half right. The Russians were trying to destabilize America and mess around in our elections. They did support Donald Trump, but she also left out that they also supported Bernie Sanders, an explicit message included in the indictment from one of its leaders to the staff, saying basically don't attack Bernie Sanders and don't attack Donald Trump. We want to boost both of them. So look, every American, regardless of party, ought to be concerned about this, and every American, starting with Nancy Pelosi, ought to be concerned enough to leave the politics aside and stay focused on the issue at hand. Nothing in this shows collusion by the Trump campaign. It does show that there was some contact between the Russians and unwitting staffers on the Trump campaign, but we ought to be concerned about the issue at hand. What are the Russians trying to do to pit American against American, and not doing what Nancy Pelosi does, which is pit American against American.
And now we've got the midterms coming up. There's concern there as well. The indictment says the Russians engaged in operations primarily intended to communicate derogatory information about Hillary Clinton, denigrate Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, support Bernie Sanders, also targeting states Iowa, North Carolina, Colorado, Virginia. Karl, how effective was this? Because now, you know, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein saying didn't change the outcome of the election. So is this sort of a campaign that Americans are smart enough to say, you know what, we're going to set it aside?
Well, I hope they set aside the idea that it had a dispositive effect on the outcome. None of those states that you just talked about were very close at all. But, you know, either Clinton won it handily or Trump won it by a good enough margin not to have been affected by this. But we've got to be concerned about what the Russians attempted to do. Think about what we just heard in that report. We had two competing rallies in New York on the same day, one supporting the newly elected president and one opposing the newly elected president, both of them formulated and fomented by the Russians. That ought to worry us all.
Yeah, and the president says he's upset about it, too. He's not liking this at all. Let's switch gears to the Florida high school shooting. Authorities called to the shooter's home 39 times due to disturbing behavior. That's according to reports. And now Florida's Republican Governor Rick Scott calling on FBI Director Chris Wray to resign after the FBI admitted it got another tip, this time in January, about the suspect, but failed to follow through on it. Broward County Sheriff commenting about that moments ago. Let's listen.
The FBI remains dedicated to keeping the American people safe. On behalf of myself and over 1,000 employees of the Miami field office, we truly regret any additional pain that this has caused. The men and women who work in the Miami field office are part of this community. We walk the same streets. Our children attend the same schools, to include Stoneman Douglas. We worship at the same places. We are part of this community. As this community hurts, so do we.
That was an FBI official on the ground there commenting. Karl, what do you think?
Government and all three levels of government are coming in for criticism. Most of the attention is on the federal level. And yes, the FBI received a tip in the Jackson, Mississippi field office. Not clear that they tried to trace the IP address of Mr. Cruz. Then we had the fumble between the National Call Center and the Miami field office. But the feds are not the only ones who need to be looking into what they're doing. The state needs to look whether or not its laws on civil commitment of deeply disturbed individuals is strong enough, and whether they need to do something with regard to state laws regarding people who are mentally ill or young and having access to these weapons. And finally, the local school district. I was taken by comments by the former, I believe it's the police superintendent in Boston, who said if this kid had been in Boston, the school district and the police would have worked together to identify the problem and surrounded that problem with assistance and care, and if need be, adjudication. And what we had here is 39 times that kid is on the radar of the local police, and somehow or another this doesn't get shared between police and school officials, and something isn't done about him. So everybody's got some moments here to look at. All of these calls yesterday, I know they were well-meaning. I know they were heartfelt. Please, Mr. President, do something about this. It's the responsibility of all levels of government to make certain that we're keeping our children safe, and the state and the local have a responsibility as well. In fact, they have the principal responsibility.
Karl Rove, great to have you on, sir. Thanks for coming on.